The webcast has started, Councillor Heron.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the decision days of myself, the Executive Lead Member for Children's Services, as well as the Executive Member for Education. These decision days are being broadcast in one session live on YouTube via the County Council website. Right, moving into the agenda, the first item is deputations. I've not been notified of any. So that will take us straight through to item 1, which is welcome news. The Department for Work and Pensions Household Support Fund, 6-month funding from April 24. Hayley, I think you're introducing this one for us.
Hi, yes, thank you very much. So this is the 5th round of the Household Support Fund. We have got £7.1 million to cover the period from the 1st of April to the 30th of September this year. The expectation continues to be around supporting households in most need of food and fuel support, because this has got updated terms and conditions, we can't carry forward from previous rounds. The main differences between the 5th round and the previous round is that this funding is only for 6 months rather than 12 months. And whilst the guidance states we need to continue to use the fund for immediate needs, we're also being encouraged to look at more longer term sustainable support where possible. And we've also, the guidance also includes a suggestion around an evaluation scheme. So there's been no changes to the report since the member briefings. The report sets out how under the Connect for Communities programme we intend to spend the full £7.1 million allocation. We're proposing a really broad range of support to a variety of different households, including targeting low-income families, people with disabilities, carers and pensioners. We're proposing to do this through routes to support. So we've got a proactive support route, which is largely in the form of discretionary grant to our schools to support vulnerable families, and also proactively issuing food vouchers to other vulnerable cohorts. We also will have a route for application-based support via our partners. This is a mandatory element of the fund, and we'll be working with Citizens Advice to provide fuel support, and our district and borough councils to provide support for exceptional housing costs. And then finally, we'll be issuing grants to third-party organisations through a community grant round, and also through a grant round for our community pantries, both to support our existing pantries, but also to welcome any new applications for additional pantries as well. So the recommendations in the report are by type of approval requested. So paragraph 4 is for all of the direct award grant approvals. Paragraph 5 is for those where we're doing proactive support in the form of food vouchers. And paragraph 6 is where we would like delegated authority to the Director of Children's Services in consultation with the lead member to award grants to organisations, third party and community organisations. Paragraph 7 is the direct cost for the small programme team that run this programme. And then finally, we'd like delegated approval to reallocate funds should we not spend as we planned and to respond to local needs.
Hayley, thank you very much. And I know that this is only 6 months, not the 12 months that we've had from previous round, but I think that was perhaps at 1.6 months more than we thought we were going to get, so that in itself is welcome. Also looking at the recommendations here, many of these are building on the same mechanisms for providing that support that we've had before. Yes. I think the ones that stand out for me is that recommendation for the director to be able to reallocate. Well, that has been really useful in the past. I mean, it's in consultation with me, but it allows us to make sure that we get any underspends out the system as quickly as possible, and also it allows us to be reactive if there's some minor changes. Look, there's a lot here for anyone looking at. I think this is really welcome. I think the ones that sort of draw to me obviously are the ones in paragraph 5 around the support that we're offering to families with children open to social care and the Hampshire foster care household, but that's just a few that leap out. I think I've been fortunate to visit many of our community pantries. It is great to see what this funding has delivered and what this allows us to deliver for the next 6 months. No one's indicated they want to speak, but do any councillors want to make any comments? I'm not seeing any. In that case, I will go to the recommendations at 4 to 8 and happy to agree those. Thank you very much, Hayley. Thank you for you or your team for the work on this. Really appreciated.
Thank you. Bye.
Right. That will take us to item 2 on the report. Sounds fairly abruptly the dissolution of the Children and Families Advisory Panel, but I think if you read into the report, it's a bit more than that. It's just changing how we're doing things. Carissa, over to you to introduce, please. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Councillor Heron. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm presenting, as Councillor Heron says, a proposal to change the way we work and present reports to our councillors. And for the dissolution of the Children and Families Advisory Panel. So the Children and Families Advisory Panel, or CFAP, was formed in 2009 and has a membership of 15 councillors. The terms of reference, which were set out in 2009 and then reviewed in 2017, included scrutinising the performance of Children and Families branch and partners. Along with that, staying abreast of inspection outcomes, and that could be Ofsted inspections or other types of inspections, being kept updated on excellent and innovative practice within children's services, particularly within children and families, and hearing the views of children and young people via the reports that were presented to the panel. In recent years, and following the introduction and evolution of the Corporate Parenting Board, which hears mainly items in relation to children in care and care leavers, we see that robust, detailed reports are being presented to the Corporate Parenting Board on a regular basis. Increased officer and member time is also spent in the work of the Corporate Parenting Board, not just with the Corporate Parenting Board meeting itself, which is 3 times a year, currently proposed to move to 4 times a year. There are also related activities that members undertake in relation to observing the core business of children and families and meeting with young people. The Director of Children's Services and senior officers also agreed, in consultation with others, that the business of the panel is also covered off in the Children and Young Persons Select Committee. What we began to see a couple of years ago, really, is that the agenda for the Children and Families Advisory Panel was regularly featuring items from other council meetings, both the Corporate Parenting Board and the Select Committee meetings and other meetings, which resulted in the remit of CFAP reducing quite significantly. Without prolonging this is a really brief report, as you can see, and to ensure that the most efficient and streamlined use of time and resources, the proposal is that the Children and Families Advisory Panel is dissolved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carissa. I think this has been I think this does have to be seen in the round with the changes to the Corporate Parenting Board, and that has to be seen in the fact that we have twice now been off by Ofsted had highlighted that whether we were evidencing how we were hearing the voice of the child. And I think there is no option to just keep going how we were if outside body is saying, actually, we think you can be evidencing this. And I do use the word evidencing because I actually think from my time in the role that we are very good at hearing the voice of the child. I just think perhaps we have acted on it and resolved issues, and then not necessarily documented those through. And actually, from talking to lead members at other organisations, I think we probably actioned and resolved them at a much earlier stage than some other authorities. Therefore, they're not getting to the point where they needed to come to a panel. So I know, and Councillor Henson has raised this with me, there are some things from the Children and Families Advisory Panel that worked well. And I think it is important that we take those things that have worked well and bring them into that new arrangement. But equally, when this was first mooted, sat down and had a look on our website and went through the last 12 months of the Children and Families Advisory Panel, and every report there appeared to have been somewhere else. I'm not going to do that, but certainly every report there was noting or supporting. There was nothing in there as to what the original terms of reference was to recommend to. And so actually, I think having now looked at that and seeing the changes that are being recommended to council of the Corporate Parenting Board, I think the time has come for this, and I think it is time we move forward with new ways of working. So before I go to the recommendation, see if any other councillors want to comment. And Councillor Forster, I see your hand up to Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Heron. Yes, I'm fully supportive of what was proposed. I know a lot of work has been put in by yourselves and by our officers and many others, looking at best practice and weighing what Ofsted said. I think what's proposed is going to improve governance. Sometimes speeding things up and slimlining can be seen as a way of dumbing down. This is definitely not the case here. I think what we'll see is a distinct improvement, and witness that the fact that we're moving to 4 meetings a year is just one of many ways of achieving that. So I'm totally supportive and really looking forward to getting into this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Juliet, you've got a comment.
Thank you very much, Councillor Heron. Yes, I just wanted to say I had concerns in that I fully understand officers need to be focusing, much more on the corporate parenting board, given the feedback from Ofsted. But as I mentioned, there were some really valuable aspects of the Children and Young People Advisory Panel, and I thank you very much and for Stuart and Steph for listening, and indeed Kavitha, to my concerns, and seeing how moving forward we can incorporate all those really good ingredients of the panel into the corporate parenting board. And I think anything that strengthens the life of our looked after children is a good thing, and that's what we need to focus on. So I am very supportive, and thank you for listening to my concerns.
Thank you. Councillor Penman-Neville.
Yeah. Thanks ever so much. I just totally agree with everything that's been said. I think it's the right thing to do, and we have to move forward, and I think this is the right way to go. So I'm totally with you, totally support.
Neville, thank you very much for that, much appreciated. So I'm not seeing anyone else indicate. So with that, I'm going to go to the recommendation at 2, which is a recommendation to council, and I'm happy to approve that. So that takes us to item 3, which is the Winklebury Infant School age range. And I think it's Peter, you're introducing this one for us, please. It's over to you.
I am. Thank you, Councillor Heron. Good afternoon, everybody. So the proposal is for Winklebury Infant School in Basingstoke to lower their age range to take children from 2 years and to offer a nursery provision from 8:30 to 3:30. There is no change from your briefing. So this comes under Section 19 of the Education and Inspections Act 2006. And Winklebury School currently offers 60 places per year group, a total of 180 places, and this would add 24 early years places. So the proposal is for the governing body of the school to take over responsibility from an organisation known as WISPs and from their trustees. There has been a public consultation which was in the form of a published notice from the 1st of March to the 29th of March, and there was opportunities for in-person consultation on the 11th of March. No objections were forthcoming from any of the consultation. For context purposes, Winklebury is an area of deprivation, and the advantage of this proposal is that the school will have very early sight of the emerging needs of children, so they can better support them into Year R and beyond. This won't make Winklebury Infant and All through school. Parents will still have to apply for Year R places in the normal way, but we don't believe there are any pressure on those places currently. Trustees and staff of WISPs are supportive of this, and TUPE would, of course, apply to the staff. There'll be no additional costs to Hampshire County Council. So the recommendation is that approval is given to make a prescribed authorisation to Winklebury Infant School to provide 24 places for 2-year-olds with the effect from the 1st of September 2024.
Peter, thank you very much. And I say this is a slight variation because sometimes it's the primaries that do, but I'm seeing more of these and understanding the reasons why schools are making this decision. And I think you really highlighted an important one there, is that ability to get early sight of children. Because we know the earlier that you can start engaging and supporting young people in the right way, the greater opportunity you have to assist them if they need that little bit of extra support somewhere. So I think that this is, it appears to be a direction of travel, and to be honest, it appears to be a welcome one. Any other members got any comments on this one? No, then I'm not on this one. I'm really happy to go to recommendation at 3 and approve that recommendation, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you.
That now takes us to item 4, which is the Peel Common Infant School and Nursery Unit and Peel Common Junior School, the proposed amalgamation. I will just say this is one that I have had quite a few pieces of correspondence over the time, and I have carefully read a lot of the representations that have been made. But with that, I'll go over to Mark to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Councillor. This is the final report regarding a proposal to close Peel Common Infant School and Nursery Unit and to create a 1FE primary school by extending the age range of Peel Common Junior School from the 1st of January 2025. The report sets out the rationale for proposing the change and follows on from a declining pupil numbers, which leads to an impact on education standards, school budgets, and therefore the long-term viability of the school. The proposal remains a well-considered strategy to ensure long-term financial stability and supports positive outcomes for children. Paragraphs 8 to 10 describes the reduction in the published admission numbers as the demand for school places has fallen. Paragraph 23 to 26 describes the public consultations, and paragraph 25 refers to the statutory public notice period, which took place between the 1st of March and the 26th of March, during which we received one response, which is then shared in Appendix D. In summary, following an extensive consultation with all key stakeholders and the school community, the recommendation is that approval be given to close Peel Common Infant School and Nursery Unit, and for Peel Common Junior School to expand its age range to create an all-through primary school from the 1st of January 2025.
Thank you. And before I go out to any other comments, I will say is, except there was only the one response to statutory consultation. There were quite a lot of consultation responses to the preceding informal consultation, which obviously I considered before making the decision to move to a statutory consultation. The other comment to make is it's never easy to make these decisions. People have a strong attachment to schools, whether that's because they attended them or their children do, or they chose them for their children, and they normally chose them to their children for a reason that was important to them. So I quite understand that these decisions are never going to be popular with everyone involved. But I think the key part for this that I am mindful of is the importance of making sure we have a sustainable education provision for the children of the area. And coming from representing a small patch, I am a great fondness for small schools, and where that can be sustained, would always want to. But I am just conscious of the figures in the finance section, particularly at 13. So this is a difficult decision, but albeit for me, this report, I think, a fairly clear one. The other thing I just want to touch on is in some of the communication to me, there have been issues raised that really aren't relevant at this time. And I've had quite a few comments about what happens to the school afterwards. And the answer is, well, that isn't something for me to consider at this stage at all. At this stage, it is for me to consider what is in the best interest of the education provision there and the sustainability of that. I'm sure, if once decisions are made, then there might be discussions on that, but that's not something for me or to form part of this decision. So with that, before I move to recommendations, are there any members who want to make any comments on this one? I'm not seeing any hands raised, so again, for the reasons set out in the report, and I think have been articulated both in Mark's introduction to this and in our discussions following the informal consultation, I agree the recommendations at 2 and 3. And that, I think, now concludes my part of the meeting. So with that, I will hand over to Councillor Forster. Councillor Forster, if you're happy to close the meeting at the end. Excellent. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Councillor Heron, thank you for that, and welcome everyone to my decision day. We've got 5 different elements to go through, and we'll wade straight in. I've been told there are no deputations unless anything has changed on that, so none received. So we'll therefore go straight in to item 5, which is the specialist provision final approval for Samuel Cody School. First of 2 items on Samuel Cody. I think this is one that Natalie, you're taking us through.
Good afternoon, everybody. This, of course, has come before for the permission to consult, and the purpose of my report is to provide feedback from the statutory consultation period and request approval for the expansion of Samuel Cody School, Farnborough, from September 2024. The statutory public notice period took place between the 29th of March and the 26th of April. The notice was displayed at schools, it was circulated to stakeholders, published in the Hampshire Independent and on Hampshire County Council's public notice portal. Only one response was received during the public notice period, and it requested information about future class sizes at the school, and the head teacher has duly responded. Can I please therefore move to ask that the approval be given to the proposal, which is to make a prescribed alteration to Samuel Cody School to expand from 295 to 338 places with effect from September 2024.
Natalie, thank you for that introduction. It's really positive to see the plans for the extra 43 places for those with special education needs coming through. Members, do you have any questions? Anyone? No hands raised. I will move straight on then to the recommendation as listed in para 2 to proceed with the proposal to make a prescribed alteration to the Samuel Cody School, Farnborough, to expand from 295 to 338 places with effect from September this year. That is fully approved. Thank you, Natalie. We'll now move on to the second item for Samuel Cody School. This is the alterations and refurbishment at the school, which I believe, Colin, you're taking us through.
I am. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So this report sets out the project proposals for those alterations and refurbishment at Samuel Cody School to create the additional accommodation to support the expansion that has just been outlined in the previous report at a total cost of 800,000. The project is a project of two parts. The first part is the alterations and refurbishment of a standalone pavilion building next to the synthetic turf pitch that enables its future use by the preschool, who are currently within the main building of the school, and gives them a larger space to enable their potential expansion in the future from 26 places up to potentially 40 places. And that liberates the space for the other part of the project within the main building, where alterations and refurbishment are proposed to provide 14 of the additional places at the school for children aged between 4 and 11 with moderate learning difficulties. And that makes use of the space liberated by the move of the preschool out of the accommodation. The project was included in the Children's Services Capital Programme approved at the Executive Leave Member Decision Day on the 19th of January earlier this year, with a budget of 800,000. It doesn't require planning permission as the works are permitted development. And I would therefore recommend that approval be given to spend 800,000 on these project proposals at Samuel Cody to create the additional teaching accommodation.
Thank you very much, Colin. There's a lot of detail on the proposed alterations in paragraphs 27 through to 30. And I think in terms of the overall budget and the amount of work that's involved, this represents particularly good value. Does anyone have any questions on this? Please raise your hand if you do. Okay, with no questions, and the fact that the normal consultation has been followed through, I note Councillor Chad has been involved in that, as have the governors and many others. I'm happy to go to the recommendations as shown in paragraph 2, excuse me, to give approval to spend the £800,000 on the project proposals for alterations and refurbishment at Samuel Cody School to create this additional teaching accommodation for children with special education needs. That's approved. Thank you. We'll move on to the third item, which is item 7, alterations and refurbishment at Prospect School. Colin, this is you again, please.
Thank you, Chairman. This is the purpose of the report is to spend approval to the project proposals for alterations and refurbishment at Prospect School, Havant, to improve the provision for pupils with special educational needs at the total cost of 650,000. This project doesn't create any additional places as part of the project, but it seeks to improve the accommodation to better make it suitable for the needs of the pupils attending the school now. Comprises improvements to the skills rooms and some sport and exercise facilities. The school currently provides education for up to 80 boys aged between 11 and 16 with social, emotional and mental health needs, some of whom also have additional difficulties, and these improvements will make a significant difference to the education experience at the school. There's a helpful plan set out in Appendix 2 on page 155, which explains and shows the location of the various components of the project. There have been no changes to the proposals since your briefing. The project was included in the Children's Services Capital Programme decision day on the 19th of January with a budget of 650,000, and it's been confirmed that it's permitted development and does not require planning permission. And therefore I recommend that the executive member gives approval to spend 650,000 on the project proposals at Prospect School. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Members, do we have any questions? Gosh, I'm getting away lightly today. Okay, that's appreciated. I'll make a couple of comments on this. Again, I think this it's not yielding any extra spaces, but very importantly, it's making sure that we can use the space that we have as effectively as possible and provide better facilities for those children at the school. I note with interest that we're putting in a small fitness gym, which is really positive, as well as a gaming hub. So that's bringing us kicking and screaming into the current timeline and providing something that I think will be really good for the health and well-being and education of these children. Really encouraged to see it. I therefore move the recommendation as shown in paragraph 2 for approval of the £650,000 for alterations and refurbishment at Project School to improve the provision for pupils with special education needs. That is approved. Thank you. 2 last items. The first one is item 8 on the agenda. These 2 are consultations. This one is the additional specialist provision for Hollywater School and a couple of others also. Natalie, I think you're taking us through this one.
I am, thank you. Good afternoon again. So as was stated, the purpose of this report is to request approval to consult. The first request is on the expansion of Hollywater School, which is in Bordon, to provide an additional 20 places for children and young people with severe learning difficulties. The second is to request approval to consult on the expansion of Heathfield Special School in Fareham to provide up to 20 places for children and young people with moderate learning difficulties. And the third is the request to approve to consult on adding specific learning difficulties to the specialist designation of Saxon Wood Special School in Basingstoke. To talk a little bit more about each of them, Hollywater School caters for pupils aged 4 to 19 years, and it provides specialist support for pupils who have profound and multiple learning disabilities, specific learning difficulties, and social communication needs, including autistic spectrum disorder. The proposal is to install a 2-classroom modular building to provide accommodation for post-16 pupils. This will create additional accommodation in the main school for additional pupils aged 4 to 16 years, which will require, in likeliness, some minor works to these spaces. So the additional accommodation in the main school will meet the needs of up to 20 primary age pupils, and so the school's agreed pupil numbers will increase from 143 to 163 should this be agreed, and the consultation proceed and conclude positively. In terms of Heathfield Special School, it's a good school currently rated by Ofsted, and it, as we said, it caters for primary age pupils with moderate and severe learning difficulties. It's part of the Federation of Heathfield and St Francis. St Francis School is an all-through special school situated on the same site, and the proposal is to refurbish 2 classrooms, make improvements to adjacent areas, and relocate the teachers' planning spaces, which will provide accommodation to meet the needs of up to 20 additional primary age pupils, and increase the school's agreed pupil numbers from 170 to 190 from September 2024. The final is adding specialist designation to Saxon Wood School for our more complex learners, and that would mean that there would be more good quality school places that could be provided quickly and where they're needed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natalie, and thank you for expanding on the TLAs, the 3-letter acronyms as well. which I know we've been criticised for having so many of, and it's good to see them being explained both in the paper and verbally. Thank you. Do we have any questions on any of these three schools? No, I can see some heads shaking. Thank you. It's good to see another 40 additional places, and this ties in very much with the County Council's aim of local places, the local right places for local children. So really pleased to see this. The recommendation as shown in paragraphs 2 for consultation and then 3 for bringing back a report to a future decision day for ultimate approval if that comes back as positive. I'm happy to approve those recommendations as detailed, paragraphs 2 and 3. Thank you for that. That lets us move on to the last item, item 9, which is the approval to consult on changes to approved published numbers at Crestwood Community School and Haven Nursery. Natalie, I think you're taking us through this one. I have one query which I'll raise with you straight away on 3-letter acronyms. Approved published numbers, APNs, and PANs is a common term we're using. So maybe you can just touch on that. But other than that, I'll let you wade through the paper, please.
You decoded APNs, and PANs is published admission numbers. So it's the number of pupils that the school takes on, and that is a published number. So this is a report which I thought I might get a question on, because one of the 2 proposals is slightly counterintuitive, so I will try and answer that within this. So we are requesting approval to consult on decreasing the APN. So basically it's the published admission number within Crestwood's specific learning difficulties resourced provision by 7 places from 22 to 15. The reason we are doing that when we need so many specialist places is because those specialist places are currently for specific learning difficulties, and Crestwood and many other schools have got significantly better at meeting the needs of dyslexic children, dyspraxic children, and others with specific learning difficulties as part of their ordinary available provision. Therefore, the number of children with these learning difficulties has not decreased, but they've been well catered for in their schools, so they have not needed resourced provision places. Hence our request to reduce from 22 to 15. We, of course, still need specialist places for other areas of need. So it might be that we are able to use those places to cater for those children moving forward, but we need to follow process, and the first process is to look at those that we don't need and therefore request for approval to consult to reduce those numbers. The second one is about increasing the approved published number and the pupil admission number of nursery age children at the Haven Nurseries SEND Hub in Gosport, which also serves Fareham. And this is a much more common because it's an addition, which we are well used to and very pleased about. And it takes it to 22 full-time places or 36 children. And that actually brings it into line with the other Hampshire SEND hubs. And it also, of course, means that we are able to leave Gosport, if this is agreed, with a consistent offer with other areas in Hampshire. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. That was comprehensive. I'm really glad you gave the detail on the first item, because it is it's not a logical process. If you look at it, that you have to decrease, and then as a separate step, you can then take action to then increase as appropriate with the right tailored needs. So thank you for explaining that. You've probably preempted any questions, but I will see, does anyone have any questions? Please raise your hand. No, well covered, Natalie. It's always good to preempt that. Thank you. On that basis, I am delighted to once again see this, which will give us a net increase in the longer term and make sure we have the right provision in the right place. So I'm happy to approve the recommendations as detailed in paragraphs 2 and 3. Firstly, that request for approval to consult is given, and secondly, a report is brought back at a future decision day following the consultation periods. So those recommendations as detailed are fully approved. That brings us to an end of today's decision day. I'd like to thank everyone for producing the reports, the time taken, and the considerable work that goes into these. And thank you for those questions that were raised. Adam, thank you for that. May I please ask that you stop the webcast and let us know when that's done, please?
Confirm as soon as it's stopped.